Listen, before anything else, slow your breathing. Let the noise fade. Let your shoulders drop. Yes, right there. I am Archangel Michael, and this moment, right now, is not random. You didn't click this by accident. Your soul was guided here because heaven saw something shifting inside you. For a long time, you have been surviving, not living, surviving. You woke up each day carrying weight you never asked for. You handled responsibilities that drained you. You stayed strong because weakness wasn't an option. And somewhere along the way, you forgot what it felt like to feel light. You told yourself, just get through today. Then tomorrow came, and you said it again and again and again. Days turned into months, months into years, and you wondered quietly, is this all my life is going to be? Hear me now, gently but clearly. That question did not come from doubt. It came from awakening. Something inside you has been stirring. You feel it in moments of silence, in random waves of emotion, in that strange feeling that you were meant for more, even when you don't know what more looks like. This is not restlessness. This is remembrance. Your spirit remembers who you are, even if your mind forgot. You were never created to merely endure life. You were created to walk with heaven. But before elevation comes awareness, and awareness can feel uncomfortable. That's why lately, things don't hit the same. Conversations feel empty. Certain people feel distant. Certain places feel heavy. You haven't changed because you're broken. You've changed because you're waking up. And awakening is rarely loud. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with quiet realizations that shake you from the inside. You start questioning things you once accepted. You start feeling tired of pretending. You start craving truth, depth, and peace. That is your soul stretching. And let me say this clearly. You are not late. You are not slow. You are not failing. You are right on time. The reason this awakening feels lonely is because not everyone can walk with you into the next version of your life. Some people were assigned to your past, not your future. Some connections were seasonal. They served a purpose, and then expired. And when they left, you blamed yourself. You thought, maybe I said too much. Maybe I changed. Maybe I wasn't enough. But heaven says this, you didn't lose them. You outgrew them. Growth always creates distance before it creates alignment. And yes, it hurts. Because you loved deeply, you stayed loyal, you tried to fix what God was trying to remove. But removal is sometimes mercy. If certain people had stayed, they would have limited you. If certain doors had remained open, they would have delayed your destiny. You don't see it yet, but one day you will thank God for what didn't work. Right now, you're in the in-between, the place where the old no longer fits, but the new hasn't fully arrived. That space feels confusing, disorienting, unsettling. You feel like you're floating without direction. But hear me, the in-between is not emptiness, it is transition. Heaven always isolates before it elevates, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because where you are going requires clarity, and clarity grows in silence. That's why distractions are falling away. That's why noise no longer satisfies you. That's why your spirit craves stillness. God is teaching you how to hear again, not the voices of fear, not the opinions of people, but the quiet, steady voice of truth. And let me tell you something important. Your sensitivity is not weakness. You feel deeply. You notice things others ignore. You sense shifts before they happen. That is not emotional instability. That is spiritual awareness. You were designed to discern, to protect, to guide, which is exactly why life tried to harden you. But even after everything, your heart stayed soft. That alone tells heaven everything it needs to know about you. Now, listen closely. The reason this awakening feels intense is because you are crossing a line you can never uncross. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Once you feel, you cannot numb yourself again. You are stepping into responsibility, not just for your life, but for your light. And light attracts both favor and resistance. That's why lately you feel tested, emotionally stretched, mentally tired. Not because you're weak, but because you're being noticed in the spiritual realm. Pressure always increases before promotion. You don't become a threat by accident. Let me ground you in this truth. Nothing is wrong with you. You are not too much. You are not difficult. You are not broken. You are becoming. And becoming requires shedding. Old identities, old patterns, old survival mechanisms. You're learning to stop apologizing for your existence, to stop shrinking to keep others comfortable, to stop abandoning yourself for approval. That's why your soul feels raw, exposed, tender. This is the stage where many turn back, where fear whispers, "Go back to what's familiar." But familiar doesn't mean safe. It just means known. And God didn't wake you up to send you back to sleep. You are here because heaven trusts you with what comes next. Before this part ends, I want you to hear this slowly. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to not have all the answers yet. Awakening is not about speed, it's about alignment. And alignment takes patience. If this message is resonating, not just emotionally, but deep in your chest, that is confirmation. Do not rush away from this space. Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon so you stay connected to the messages heaven is unfolding for you step by step. This journey is not meant to be walked alone. I am Archangel Michael, and this is only the beginning. Stay with me. Do not rush past this part, because this is the place most people try to escape. And now, we speak about the season you rarely talk about. The season where faith hurts. You prayed, and nothing changed. You believed, and things still fell apart. You trusted God, and yet you found yourself asking, "Why am I still here?" This is the part of the journey where silence becomes loud. Not the peaceful silence, but the kind that echoes questions back at you. You asked for direction. You asked for relief. You asked for clarity, and heaven seemed quiet. Let me say this first, slowly, carefully. God's silence is not absence. Silence is where the deepest work happens. But when you're inside it, it feels unbearable. You replay your prayers in your head, wondering if you said something wrong. You analyze your life, searching for mistakes. You ask yourself if you're being punished. And the hardest part is this. You still believe, but you're tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of holding on. Tired of hoping. You look around and see people who didn't pray as hard as you did, yet they seem to move forward easily. And a quiet thought slips in. Why not me? You didn't want to think it. You felt guilty for feeling it, but heaven already knows. Let me lift something heavy off your spirit right now. You are not wrong for questioning. You are not faithless for feeling pain. You are not weak for being exhausted. You are human, walking through a divine process. This delay you're in, it is not random. There are seasons where God answers quickly, and then there are seasons where God answers deeply. Deep answers take time because God is not just fixing circumstances. He is shaping you. You asked for growth. You asked for purpose. You asked to become stronger. But strength is not built in comfort. And here's the truth no one likes to say. Some prayers cannot be answered until you are transformed enough to carry the answer. If God gave you everything right now, it would crush you instead of bless you. So heaven waits, not because you are unworthy, but because you are valuable. Think about this. You've been developing patience you didn't know you had. discernment you never asked for, wisdom that only pain can teach. You notice red flags now. You walk away sooner. You trust yourself more. This didn't come from happiness. It came from surviving disappointment. And yes, it left scars. You don't trust as easily anymore. You hesitate before opening your heart. You overthink because you've been hurt before. But listen, God is not ashamed of your scars. They are proof that you stayed soft in a hard world. Now, let me speak to the pain you tried to hide. You lost something or someone that mattered deeply to you. And people told you to move on, but they didn't understand because what you lost wasn't just a thing. It was a future you imagined, a version of life you planned, a dream you carried quietly. Grief doesn't only come from death. It comes from unmet expectations. And you grieved alone. You showed up for others while falling apart inside. You helped people heal while bleeding yourself. And heaven watched all of it. You wonder sometimes if God is disappointed in you. Let me answer that clearly. God is not disappointed in you. He is close to you. He is closest in moments you feel the least supported. That ache in your chest? That heaviness in your prayers? That tear that falls without warning? Those are not signs of failure. They are signs that your soul is being stretched to hold something greater. Now hear this. This is important. Not every delay is about preparation. Some delays are about protection. You don't see what God sees. You don't see the version of that situation that would have destroyed you. You don't see the betrayal that was avoided. You don't see the collapse that was prevented. One day, you will look back and realize the door you cried over was never safe. The person you begged to stay would have broken you later. The opportunity you missed would have cost you peace. God said no because He loves you. And love doesn't always feel gentle in the moment. Sometimes love looks like restraint, like waiting, like silence. But even in silence, God speaks, just not loudly. He speaks through discomfort, through dissatisfaction, through the inner knowing that you cannot stay the same. That's why this season feels heavy, but purposeful. You are being taught to rely on God, not outcomes, to trust character over convenience, to value peace over applause. These lessons are shaping your future more than any blessing ever could. Let me be honest with you. You are being trained, not punished, not delayed without reason. Trained for responsibility, for influence, for impact. That's why the pressure feels personal. The enemy doesn't waste energy on empty lives. Resistance is confirmation that your life matters. But here's where many stumble. They mistake resistance for rejection, and they quit right before things shift. Do not quit here. This part of the journey builds endurance. It builds spiritual muscle. It teaches you how to stand even when emotions shake. And you are standing, even if you feel weak. Weakness doesn't cancel obedience. You kept showing up. You kept believing. You kept praying, even when prayers felt heavy. That matters more than you know. Heaven records faith that persists in pain. Let me speak something into your spirit now. Your waiting is not empty time. It is sacred ground. Something is aligning behind the scenes. Pieces are moving you cannot see. Timing is being orchestrated with precision. When it happens, it will make sense why it couldn't happen sooner. And it will come with peace, not anxiety. Before we move forward, I want you to do something. Release the idea that God owes you an explanation, not because you don't deserve one, but because peace comes faster when you trust His heart more than your understanding. You don't need to have it all figured out to be faithful. You only need to keep walking. If this message is speaking to the part of you that feels tired but still hopeful, stay connected. Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon so you don't walk this process alone. The silence is not the end of the story. I am Archangel Michael, and what feels like delay is positioning you for something that cannot fail. Stay present. This is where everything changes. And now we speak about the battle you didn't realize you were fighting. Because what you thought was exhaustion was resistance. What you thought was confusion was opposition. What you thought was weakness was pressure from standing on the edge of breakthrough. Let me tell you something most people never hear. Not every struggle is emotional. Some struggles are spiritual. And when the battle shifts into the unseen, it doesn't announce itself loudly. It disguises itself as doubt, as fatigue, as overthinking, as discouragement. You wake up heavy for no clear reason. Your motivation drops suddenly. Your mind replays old fears that you thought were healed. And you think, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. You are being resisted because you are no longer asleep. The moment you started waking up, truly waking up, the moment you stopped numbing yourself, the moment you chose growth over comfort, you became visible in the spiritual realm. And visibility attracts pressure. This is where many people misunderstand their season. They think, if God is with me, why is it this hard? But hear me clearly. Hard does not mean wrong. Resistance does not mean rejection. In fact, resistance is often confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. No one fights what is not a threat. No one tries to stop what is not going somewhere. The intensity you feel is not random. You are stepping into authority, and authority must be tested before it can be trusted. Let me speak directly to your mind now. The enemy's first strategy is not destruction. It is distraction. If your focus can be scattered, if your confidence can be shaken, if your identity can be questioned, you can be slowed down without being stopped. That's why the thoughts came. Thoughts like, who do you think you are? You're not ready. You'll fail like before. You should just stay quiet. Those thoughts are not yours. They appeared the moment you started becoming stronger. You didn't imagine them. You didn't create them. They were assigned. But listen carefully. Thoughts only have power when you agree with them. And lately, you've been learning how to pause, how to observe, how to question what you feel instead of obeying it. That is spiritual maturity. Before, emotions controlled you. Now, you are learning to stand above them. And that shift threatens what once had access to you. Let me tell you the truth about spiritual warfare. It is rarely dramatic. It is usually subtle. It shows up as procrastination when you need discipline, as comparison when you need confidence, as isolation when you need connection. But the biggest battlefield is always the mind. That's why guarding your thoughts is not optional anymore. You are not just surviving now. You are being trained to lead your inner world. Because if you cannot command your thoughts, you will always feel powerless, even when you are gifted. Authority starts internally, and this is where heaven steps closer. Because the moment you choose awareness over reaction, you take ground back. You stop asking, why do I feel this way? And start asking, what am I agreeing with? That question alone shifts power. You are learning that not every emotion deserves a response. Not every thought deserves belief. Not every feeling deserves obedience. That is strength. And strength attracts opposition. But do not fear this. You are not fighting alone. I stand with you. Let me remind you who you are becoming. You are not the person who panics easily anymore. You are not the one who collapses under pressure. You are not the one who runs from discomfort. You have learned how to breathe through intensity, how to stay present in uncertainty, how to keep moving even when clarity comes slowly. That didn't come from comfort. It came from battle. And battles shape warriors. But hear this, very important. You are not being trained to fight people. You are being trained to stand in truth. Your authority is not loud. It is calm. It does not chase validation. It does not explain itself to everyone. It does not beg to be understood. It simply stands. And standing requires grounding. That's why this season has been about boundaries. You started saying no without guilt. You stopped over-explaining. You pulled your energy back, not because you became cold, but because you became aware. Your peace became expensive, and not everyone can afford access to you anymore. This is not arrogance. This is stewardship. You are learning what drains you and what strengthens you. And heaven supports this shift, because authority without boundaries becomes burnout. Let me speak to the fear you haven't said out loud. You are afraid that if you fully step into who you're becoming, you might lose people. You might be misunderstood. You might be judged. And that fear is valid. But here is the truth. If becoming yourself costs you certain connections, those connections were already costing you yourself. You were never meant to shrink to be loved, and the ones aligned with your future will recognize your growth, not resist it. Now listen closely. Spiritual warfare intensifies right before clarity arrives. Confusion is the last attempt to delay alignment. That's why things feel foggy sometimes, why decisions feel heavy, why your mind tries to rush. But rushing is not your strategy anymore. Discernment is, and discernment requires patience. You are learning how to wait without weakening, how to pause without panicking, how to trust without needing proof. That is advanced faith. Most people only trust when they see results. You are learning to trust while standing in uncertainty. That puts you in rare territory, and rare territory requires protection. So now I am reminding you, you are covered. Nothing meant to destroy you will succeed. Nothing assigned to confuse you will remain. Nothing sent to drain you will have access for long. But you must stay aware. Pay attention to what steals your peace. Pay attention to what makes you doubt your worth. Pay attention to what pushes you back into old patterns. Awareness keeps you free, and freedom is your inheritance. You are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to end them. That's why the pressure feels generational. You are breaking patterns others accepted, and pattern breakers always face resistance. But they also create new paths, and you are creating one now, step by step, breath by breath. Before this part ends, I want to anchor you in this truth. You are stronger than you feel. You are clearer than you think. You are closer than you realize. This battle did not come to defeat you. It came to reveal you. If this message is sharpening your awareness and grounding your spirit, stay connected. Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon so you continue receiving guidance as you step into authority. I am Archangel Michael, and you are not fighting blindly anymore. You are standing in truth. Stay with me. This is the moment where things begin to feel different. Not louder, not dramatic, just clearer. And now we speak about who you are becoming, not who you were forced to be, not who you pretended to be, but who has been forming quietly beneath every experience. Transformation does not announce itself. It reveals itself slowly. One day, you realize you don't react the way you used to. You don't chase the way you used to. You don't explain yourself the way you used to. And it surprises you, because the old you would have panicked, would have overthought, would have tried harder. But now, there is space between what happens and how you respond. That space is growth. You didn't lose your passion. You gained discernment. You didn't become cold. You became rooted. You didn't stop caring. You stopped overgiving. This is what maturity looks like. And maturity often feels lonely at first, because your identity was once tied to how useful you were to others, how available, how accommodating. You were praised for being strong, but rarely supported. You were valued for what you gave, not always for who you were. And somewhere along the way, you learned to earn love by effort. But heaven never asked you to perform for acceptance. That belief was learned in survival, not designed in your spirit. Now that belief is being dismantled. That's why this season feels unfamiliar. You are learning how to exist without proving, to rest without guilt, to speak without fear, to say no without explaining. This is not rebellion. This is alignment. Your identity is no longer anchored in pain. It is anchored in truth. And truth is steady. Let me tell you what transformation really is. It is not becoming someone new. It is returning to who you always were, before life taught you to hide, before disappointment taught you to guard your heart, before responsibility taught you to suppress your needs. You are remembering yourself. And remembrance changes how you move. You walk slower now, not because you're unsure, but because you're intentional. You choose your words more carefully. You protect your energy. You listen more than you speak. This is not fear. This is wisdom. You are no longer reacting from wounds. You are responding from awareness. And awareness reshapes identity. Let me ground you in this. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that kept you safe but small. You are allowed to release roles you never agreed to consciously. You do not owe anyone the old version of you. Transformation may confuse people who only knew your compliance. They may say, "You've changed," and you have. But change is not betrayal. It is evolution. You are not rejecting others. You are reclaiming yourself. And here is where identity settles into place. You begin to trust your inner voice again. Not the anxious one, not the fearful one, but the calm knowing beneath the noise. That quiet sense that says, "This is right. This is not. Wait. Move." You used to ignore it to keep peace. Now you honor it to protect peace. That is identity alignment. And when identity aligns, life starts responding differently. You may not see external results yet, but internally, something is solid. You are no longer fragmented. Your thoughts, values, and actions are beginning to match. And that congruence is powerful. Because when you know who you are, confusion loses leverage, manipulation loses access, comparison loses appeal. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start asking, "Is this aligned?" That shift changes everything. Let me speak to the fear that sometimes rises. What if I'm wrong? What if I mess this up? What if I lose what little stability I have? These fears come up not because you're weak, but because you're stepping into responsibility for your own life. Before you adapted, now you choose. Choice feels heavier at first, but it is also freeing. And you are not choosing blindly. You are choosing with discernment built through experience. Nothing you've lived was wasted. Every disappointment refined you. Every delay clarified you. Every battle strengthened you. This version of you is not accidental, and heaven trusts this version. That's why you feel steadier even when answers aren't complete. You're learning how to stand without leaning on approval, how to be present without controlling outcomes, how to trust God without demanding timelines. That is spiritual adulthood. And spiritual adulthood carries authority quietly. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to convince anyone. Your presence speaks. Your calm speaks. Your boundaries speak. Your consistency speaks. People may not understand you, but they will feel something different. And that difference is integrity. Let me say this clearly. You are not becoming harder. You are becoming clearer. Clear about what you allow, clear about what you tolerate, clear about what you value. And clarity is kind because it prevents resentment. It prevents burnout. It prevents self-betrayal. You are learning to stand with yourself, and that is the foundation of peace. Now hear this gently. Transformation is not finished yet, but the foundation is set. What comes next will build upon this identity, not shake it. That's why things may slow again briefly. Not to confuse you, but to stabilize you. God does not rush identity, because identity determines stewardship, and you are being prepared to carry more without losing yourself. If this part feels grounding, if you feel calmer instead of emotional, that is confirmation. You are integrating. Stay connected. Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon so you continue walking this transformation with clarity and protection. I am Archangel Michael, and who you are becoming is strong, steady, and aligned.
Stay with me until the end. This part is not rushed. It is settled. And now, we speak about what comes after the struggle. Because the story was never meant to end in survival. You didn't walk through awakening, silence, warfare, and transformation just to remain stuck. Those seasons were not the destination. They were the preparation. Right now, something inside you feels different. Not excited, not dramatic, but steady. And steadiness is the sign that breakthrough is near. Most people think breakthrough feels loud. They expect fireworks, sudden emotion, instant clarity. But true breakthrough often arrives quietly, as peace. A deep, unshakable knowing that says, I'm going to be okay. That knowing is not imagination. It is alignment. You are standing at the edge of answered prayer, not because everything has appeared yet, but because you have changed. And when you change, what comes next can finally meet you. Let me say this clearly. The hardest part is behind you. Not because life will be perfect, but because you no longer collapse under pressure. You no longer abandon yourself in chaos. You no longer beg for clarity from places that cannot give it. You have learned how to stand. And standing changes outcomes. What once overwhelmed you will now meet discernment. What once confused you will now meet patience. What once drained you will now meet boundaries. This is breakthrough. Breakthrough is not just about receiving. It is about being ready to receive without losing yourself. And you are ready. Now let me speak to the promise you've been holding quietly, the one you didn't say out loud anymore because it hurt to hope. That promise was not forgotten. It was delayed until your identity could sustain it. What is coming will not pull you apart. It will not cost you peace. It will not require you to shrink or betray your values. It will meet you where you are, grounded, clear, awake. And it will unfold in stages, because God builds gently with those who have suffered deeply. You will notice doors opening without force, conversations aligning naturally, opportunities appearing without anxiety. You won't need to chase. What is meant for you will recognize you. Let me ground you in this truth. You are not entering a season of chaos. You are entering a season of stability, a season where things make sense in hindsight, where gratitude replaces urgency, where trust replaces fear. You will still need patience, but it will feel lighter now, because patience rooted in peace is different from patience rooted in pain. The waiting you do now will not exhaust you, it will strengthen you. And now, the blessing. I speak calm into your mind, clarity into your decisions, protection over your heart. I speak rest where you were tired, confidence where you once doubted, wisdom where confusion tried to stay. May what comes next honor the work you did to survive. May it respect the boundaries you learned to hold. May it align with the person you have become, not who you were forced to be. May you never again confuse intensity with purpose. May you choose peace without guilt. May you walk forward without carrying what no longer belongs to you. You are not walking into the unknown alone. You are walking with discernment, with awareness, with heaven beside you. And when challenges arise, because life still happens, you will not panic. You will pause. You will listen. You will choose wisely. That is authority. That is maturity. That is blessing. Before this journey closes, I ask you to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel and tap the bell icon so you continue receiving guidance as your next season unfolds. Not every message comes to correct you. Some come to walk with you. This is one of them. I am Archangel Michael, and what lies ahead of you is not chaos, not confusion, not loss. It is alignment. It is peace. It is purpose fulfilled step by step. And this is not the end. It is the beginning lived from strength.